Just a few years ago, Canik started importing these TP9s. And people looked at them as sort of a Walther-esque kind of gun, very affordable, but not sure if there'd be much following or support for them. Now in 2021, Canik USA and Century Arms have pretty much said, yeah, we got that. We've got holsters with lights. We've got threaded barrels, spare magazines, toolkits, even branded cleaning kits, all available, providing its own complete aftermarket, as well as adapter plates for different optics. Canik is here to stay and has come out in a big way. What we're here to look at today is the new METE line, and this is the SFt that we'll take a look at coming up next on GBGuns. Pardon me for not having the factory hard case that comes with these. Part of the thing of getting pre-launch stuff so that I can have information out for you, as you don't always have it exactly how it's going to come out. But what I do know is everything you see here is going to be included in the kit, as well as a cleaning kit. You've got the gun, you've got a holster that is reversible for inside outside the waistband, different back straps, an anodized then Cerakoted magazine well, toolkit that's really cool. I'm going to show you the cleverness in this. Is this floor plate comes off, and inside it you've got your bits, screws, and even some biting lock washers. The bits fit in the muzzle here. That's your tool for installing and removing sights. Because this is optics ready and comes with two different plates to cover most common optics, you also get 18 and 20 round magazines. That's right, this is a full-size magazine, slightly over 4-inch barrel. We'll get into that later. 18 and 20 rounders, and a nice magazine loader. And this is not your standard chintzy plastic one. This is pretty strong. It feels pretty good in hand. We might actually put some use to this when we get out of it. Now to go over the manual, since I always do that, I think it's a sign of how much pride a company takes in its product and how well they want you to know it. It's got a nice beefy cover to it, nice large font, and the images are renderings which can help in highlighting certain things. There's your specs. Pause now if you want to read it. You can see we've got just shy of a 4.5-inch barrel on this thing, which should make for pretty comfy shooting, and great instructions on not only basic firearms handling, but also field stripping, which YouTube nannies, this is something we'll be doing in this video. It is not disassembling or assembling the gun. It is a end user level maintenance thing that is done for maintenance and safety, basically. That's why I show it, for the safety of people watching this video. Let me get this stuff cleaned up out of the way, and we'll take a look at the gun. I'll show you some of the things that I've noticed are different on the new METE series, and then we'll do our field strip. Alright, what you see here is somewhat of an evolution of the TP9 series. Each of these integrates a feature into what has become the METE, though the METE has stuff nothing in the past had prior. In fact, we can go back one more, starting with my older generation SFX. We had no loaded chamber indicator, some cuts on the top of the slide to be anti-glare. However, once they got Cerakote on them, they get that sheen that all Cerakote kind of has. You notice how far out the safety dingus sticks, and the texture was somewhat smooth. Same, of course, was on the early DA. The DA had no cuts up top and kind of a rough texture. Safety dingus moved a little more flush, but keep in mind the DA is your Walther P99 type 3 trigger action gun, so didn't really need one there. When we got to the SF Elite, we got the more flush fitting safety, an omission of the cuts up top, and a longer loaded chamber indicator that popped up. With the Elite SC, the subcompact, the texture here got a little rougher. For a little more texture, we moved to a shorter loaded chamber indicator and finally got optics ready on there. Now, even this thing is still not quite where the new metas are. And that's right, I'm saying METE, not META. This is METE, which is a verb in English, to dispense justice or harsh punishment, not meta as in absolute. However, this is the meta of mechanics and in the family of things. So, looking at these two relatively modern and recent ones side by side, we can see that our slide lock and release lever has shortened a little bit. It doesn't stick out from the frame quite as far, at least it doesn't seem that way. The texture has gotten rougher, and it is now textured on the front strap rather than the square grid you had before. Trigger still has that flush smart, but we now have a memory point texture up front on both sides, and we've moved to a 1913 3-slot setup. Of course, this being a longer barreled gun and an 18 rounder versus short barrel subcompact, there's more room on the frame. But even the frame shape down here underneath the trigger guard, which was raised up on the SC but was not raised up on, say, the Combat Elite. It actually kind of bowed out a little bit, had a bit of a curve to it. That permits for higher grip of your support hand. See, my finger falls right into that spot, which makes for a nice high grip on the gun. So little bits like that went in, and also right here you have one of your changes. You notice that's not a roll pin anymore, it's actually a divoted pin, which works really well with the punch that comes with the gun, getting access to the gun if you want to swap or tune internals or do a full strip down clean. There you go. As we drop the mag out, and of course let me show clear with this gun, the mag well itself is different. You notice there's a bit of a flare here versus if I grab an earlier model, there wasn't much at all. It's widened out. So with the Elites, with the salient mag well, we had that option. The problem here was, of course, that the aluminum mag well kind of dumped right onto the polymer, so you had a step in there, a place that could catch. The new mag well, now included with the Metas, slips on and screws down with one of the included screws using the included tools, and look how much bigger that funnel is. It's a nice big funnel that does not hit into the polymer. The mag well itself brings you just inside of it, so if you miss that reload, you need training. No mag well's gonna help you. I'll show you the side profile. It still doesn't stick out the rear, which is nice, gonna help for carry, but it's definitely broader and has more of a toe to it on the front here, which I have found works really nicely to tuck my hand up tightly underneath the gun. It also gives you a little bit of a spot for pinky pressure there to aid with using a red dot. So all of those are external changes. There are some slight internal changes that we'll go over next. Field stripping remains the same procedure from the Elite series and newer. We're of course going to check for clear. We're going to release our striker by pulling the trigger and pulling down on these takedown tabs that are on both sides of the gun. We're going to slide back a little, forward about ½ an inch, and then the slide just rolls off. We'll do the same on the older Elite so that we can look at differences. And here you're going to find construction very much the same. This bar is polished on the new Meta. It's polished on the old one simply from lots of use. Yes, this gun's been run pretty hard. Looks like the reinforcement rails might be slightly bigger. Maybe not. I don't know. That's just conjecture. And you can see we've got a nice big locking plate in there. Everything else remains pretty similar. Looking inside of our slides with the Meta on the left, the older Elite on the right, you can see some slight changes. Looks like a larger firing pin drop safety right there, which might be why the trigger feels, I think, more appropriate for carry than on the older stuff. To remove the slide or the barrel from the slide, we're going to push forward on this recoil spring, bring it out. It is a polymer guide rod, no, it's metal, with a flat captured recoil spring. Does not look like it's disassemblable, at least not supposed to be. However, you can get other tensions from their website. Unlocking the barrel, tap it out, bring it forward and out. Now we can get a cleaner look inside there. And one dead giveaway of a new production gun is obviously new tooling, because that is some clean metal. We'll take a look at our barrel. These are, I believe it's melanited inside and out. Polished feed ramp and a little bit of polish around that lip there, in case there's a wildly misguided round. And we'll check, as always, for chamber support using our nozzler match. This is the most consistent ammunition that I've tested to date. Chamber check, we drop the round in. There's that good sound. And looking at our support, you can see that this is supported pretty much all the way around. Maybe a little bit less at the ramp, but not quite the classic Glock unsupported. We do that, of course, because should you be firing overpressured round, corroded or weak old brass, or an aluminum case, things like that, and the case ruptures, it's going to send force out where it's not supported. So we always look for a supported chamber. Drop our barrel back in, lock it in place, and then rest that spring back on its home. And getting the slide back onto the frame is the same procedure as the older Canics. We're going to set it about here, where that cutout matches up with that rail support. Back, and it's locked. Quick functions check. Fires and resets. And the gun's good to go. When we get this to the range, you can expect, of course, opinions from two different shooters as we run this through a cold start, the What's for Dinner test, our spinner test for sights and trigger control, as well as an accuracy test before we give our overall opinions. I believe we'll also try this with and without red dot, and since YouTube won't let us show you changing out the back straps on this, it's driving that pin out and pulling a piece of plastic off. It's not very complicated, but we'll find one that works best for both of us and may run it with or without the magwell on there. It'll be up to the consensus of myself and Miss Tia. But look for that video coming out to see more on the new METE SFt. Thanks for watching.